Support for today's show comes from Career Fitter. Career Fitter is a site where they give you a 60-question test. Takes about 10 minutes. And out of that, they're going to give you recommendations basically for your ideal business environment, a team building approach, career matches, work strengths, income potential based upon job matching, preferred communications methods, weaknesses that you may have, a whole host of things. They'll give you a free report. They have a premium report as well. Quality service recommended by Forbes, Psychology Today, and quite a few others. So use the link in the show notes. It will help you start to figure out some of the things you might consider with a new career. And if you hire me to coach you, I'll give you a little bit of a discount and reimburse you for some of the cost of the premium report, because it'll help us both with coaching. And now, let's get going. Episode 2063 of No BS Job Search Advice Radio. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. Today's show is one where I talk with someone, or I answer a question from someone who had a medically related employment gap. Not COVID, but it was a medically related gap in background. And I speak about how to address it. Hope you find this helpful and give it a great review wherever you listen to the show. And we'll be back in just one moment. But before I go, have a great weekend. Today's show is brought to you by Fiverr.com. That's the word 5 with 2 R's after it.com. Fiverr is a site for freelance work. You can hire freelancers to do a variety of things for you. You can be a freelancer on it as well and experiment with the site to see whether what you want to be doing professionally outside of the rat race, outside of your full-time job, is viable. It's basically a site where they'll do the billing and collection for you and pay you once they've received the money. In addition, if you want to hire people like I do for book editing, transcriptions and such, very inexpensive, and I've had very good work for me. So again, it's Fiverr.com. You can use the link in the show notes. Frankly, you'll get a good deal from it if you do that. Now, let's get going. And I want to talk with you today. Well, I got a letter from a viewer, and a tender letter that touched me a lot. And, I'll simply say that, I've done videos about explaining gaps in a person's background. And I just want to read this letter to you. So she writes that she's seen my video about explaining a gap in your resume. And, when all is said and done, she says, my issue with explaining the long gap has led to some issues finding a job. And, her issue is scary to people. So I know I'm going to do a video for employers about this, but the long and the short of it is she had a traumatic brain injury due to a terrorist bombing in Jakarta in 2009, and it took several years for her to heal. So this scares people off. Now, what do you do when you've had a medical issue that caused the gap? I think it really starts with the reach out to the employer. Now, if you're responding to an ad, the simplest way to do it is in your cover email. That is, that note to which your email is attached that you're sending to an employer, and say, it's obvious I have a gap in my background. And the fact of the matter is I had a medical injury that I've healed from. It's taken some time, but I'm fine now, and it's time for me to return to work. It's really that simple. Now, you may get to the personal interview, and I'll simply say that I'm an ex-New Yorker, and I've met many people who experienced post-traumatic stress disorder after the World Trade Center was attacked. I didn't deal with many people in Washington. I assume the same issues occurred with people who were affected by the plane flying into the Pentagon. So I'll simply say that what you have to do, and again, you've heard me talk about in different videos that interviewing is like theater. What you have to do is become sincere. and do your own version of that, and looking them square in the eye and talking about not every detail of what happened to you, but just simply say, in this case, I was caught up in the bombing in Jakarta. It took a long time to recover from that. I'm completely fine now, and it's time for me to resume my career. They may say, what happened to you? And I prefer not going into it. I'll simply say that when all is said and done, I had a severe injury that I don't want to rehash. I'll just say I'm completely fine at this point. So again, notice how my tone of voice is very sincere sounding. Now, you're probably not going to be able to return at exactly the same level as you were before. So if you were an executive, the likelihood is you may have to take a staff position. If you were a software developer, well, the technology has changed a lot since then. If you were an administrative role, just get yourself landed again. That's the whole game plan. After you've gone through a medical emergency, is to get back to work in some way or another. And in the course of interviewing, just have your likability factor come through and your sincerity factor. Will this work for every employer? Absolutely not. But the right employer will get it, and they'll give you the chance. Now, again, financially you may have to compromise. Positionally you may have to compromise. But so what? It's important for you to get back to work after such a long absence.
So that's today's show. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, I've got a lot that's in the show notes that will help you. Go there, take a look at some of the things I highlight. I know it can help you with your search. But I want you to do one thing for me, and that is put in your phone thebiggamehunter.us, Jeff Altman, my name. And when you need help, when you need advice, when you have a question, come over to the website, go exploring in the blog, contact me for coaching or because you have a question. I'd love to help you. In the meantime, I hope you have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great!